Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to have Kelly Froh with us for the Oakland Creates Art Makers series. Um, I'm gonna share my screen and ask her to, is it her or your pronoun? Okay, have her introduce herself. Bear with me while I share my screen, share the slides. Can we see the slides there? Are you able to see them?
Yeah.
Perfect. So just tell us what you do, who you are, that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty professional and long bio. Um, but um, yeah, I'm a comic artist and a festival organizer. And I've recently taken on another job as a deve development director for a funeral co-op. And I take care for many years, I took care of two older adult women who needed companionship and home care. And I do like gig work at the Georgetown Steam Plant, overseeing events, like safety and events. So I'm kind of doing a lot of things, but for a big portion of my life, I was a sedentary, admin assistant in the corporate world. And the routine of that just nearly killed me. And
Mhm.
so I knew I was going to make a lot less money if I just grew short run and had short run be a big job. But I knew that I needed every day to just kind of look a little bit different. So anyway, born in Wisconsin and came out to Seattle in 1994. And it was a different world back then. I left to go to art school in 2002. I went up to British Columbia to Emily Carr. At the time, it was called Institute of Art Design. Now it's University of Art Design. Was there for 4 years. Met my long-term partner, Max Klotfelter, that last year, kind of long distance. And then we both moved back to Seattle together in 2006.
Wow.
So 2006 is where um, my life in comics sort of began. That's when I started to really take publishing seriously, self-publishing seriously. That's when I eventually met some women to form Short Run Comics and Arts Festival with. It's when I really became a part of the scene here. And yeah, I kind of think that's a good start. I do mostly self-published mini comics. I have done strips and gag comics for like the alt weeklies. I've gotten some pieces in like poetry magazines, and I've performed my comic stories, like live comics reading, at a bunch of different things here in Seattle and one in Portland.
Wow.
Um,
No, it's super exciting to see you. Like I said before in the pre-interview, I really hadn't seen your comics up close and personal or dived too deep into them. So it's really, exciting for me to talk to you about the sort of the themes you're talking about because we talk about similar things in processing grief and death and that kind of thing. So talk a little bit about these two. Are these comics or zines?
Walking Uphill is my longest comic book I ever did. It's about 64 pages.
Wow.
And that one is the story of coming out west with my friend Missy in 1994, as I stated. And just God, it was times were just so different back then. Like this is pre-cell phone, and this is like
Mhm.
using pay phones. This is when a train ticket was $96.
Wow.
So we got on an Amtrak from Wisconsin to come out west. I had $750 to kind of start my life with, and we were extremely good friends, like very bonded good friends. And the first friend that I had my whole life that I felt like really knew me, really cared about me. And there's just so much power in that, of course we would go across the country together. There's no one else I would do it with. Um, but as soon as we came out here, our friendship just started to fade away. We started looking in different directions. And so that the comic book is about essentially sometimes the people in your life, the friendships in your life, sometimes the most important friendships of your life, they just take you forward in life, but they might not stay with you forever. And I like this book because I get to talk about what it was like on Capitol Hill in Seattle in my 20s, when it seemed like everybody was 20, you know,
Yeah.
and rent was $350 a month. And like, I don't know, sometimes I actually read my own book just to like, oh, please let me go back. Please let me go back. Oh my gosh. It's funny that you put these two up together because Walking Uphill is about me when I'm in my 20s. Down Deer is horror fiction made in my late 40s.
Oh
So
wow.
this is where it was like inspired by a real feeling I had when Max and I were on a road trip, and we went to the sequential artist workshop in Florida, and we did a little talk there, and then we were driving back to Georgia where Max's family was, and these long highways of no buildings anywhere, just like fields and just a lot of blankness. And he popped out of the car to go pee. And I was sitting in the car and I just had this thought, like, what if he goes in to like this wooded area and he doesn't come back out again?
My
Like, I
God.
am on the opposite coast. And I just started thinking like, wow, like what would I do? So the Down Deer is about what I would do and what other bad stuff could possibly happen, bad and good. So good imagination, like I watch a lot of true crime, like I understand what could probably happen, but then I also create these characters out of these elderly women that I know that kind of come and try to like help me as I'm kind of like waiting for him on the side of the road. And so I really enjoyed that one because that one was delving into fiction, and I'm kind of known as kind of straight auto bio.
Yeah.
But even though it stars me and my real life boyfriend, and it is something that did not happen, but it could.
It could. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And so talk about that. There's so many directions I can go with that one because that is as common. What do you call that? Is a common fear if you're on a road trip. Because I've done a lot of
Yeah.
road trips too, where you're
Yeah.
just like, what if? That's like the main question. What if this? What if that? I don't know why it stopped sharing. Okay, we're back. So senior home. Talk a little bit about that one and everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, I'm middle-aged now, and I've been working with older adults for quite a while. First as just a receptionist in a retirement home. Then I worked in the marketing department. I was kind of the woman at the desk, the first person that people would interact with. I got to know many different seniors from very rich to extremely poor in the different places where I've worked. And then I started my own little business taking care of mostly my friends' moms or my friends' mother-in-laws who wanted to stay in their home but needed help with household tasks. So it's been an interest of mine for a long time now. Aging, health, also how I feel technology is speeding forward. If I feel left out, if I feel like I'm not on the tip of technology, imagine a 90-year-old, or imagine a senior who doesn't have a cell phone or an internet connection.
Right.
Imagine what they do not have access to. And so I've been making notes ever since I started talking to seniors and watching them and just being in their world. How many seniors are just being crushed by the healthcare system, and every system that wants to go paperless, and every system that wants to go like fully online and do their whole business through an app. They're completely leaving behind, the largest generation of people that we have in this country right now. So senior home is funny stories about two of the clients that I took care of for one for 7 years and one for 10 years. And the senior home is mostly just kind of funny things that they've said or done.
Mm.
And that could be the size of a Bible. Like I try to curate those. And also I wish I could remember. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I saw them for so long. How come I can only really remember a handful of stories? I should have been making notes the whole time. But
That's
Everybody Dies is, I literally got it in the mail today. It's more like a comics magazine. And this is sort of senior home taken a little further with some longer stories, full color, 9 panel pages. And this is where I talk about my client who almost made it to 100, but
mm.
she died with 4 months to go.
Oh my gosh.
And it's about her last days and kind of how I didn't like how it went down with her family. Like I saw how a kind of distant family behaves when losing what I thought to be the matriarch of the family. So I learned a lot by that situation. But unfortunately, 2025 was a pretty hard year for me. I had my gallbladder taken out and I had a recovery after that.
Yeah.
And then right before short run last year, a week before short run, I got two retina tears in
Oh,
my eye,
oh my gosh.
um, which is something I didn't know happened.
Yeah. That's
I
a,
mean,
like, how does that happen?
what? Yeah, exactly. Um, well, age happened. It's not like, I walked into a tree branch or anything. When you get older, the liquid in your eye, the viscous, I think that's how you pronounce it, liquid in your eye
Hmm.
can evaporate a little bit, and then that tugs at the retina, and the retina there can be holes or tears. So that was horrible. I had to get laser surgery, and then that didn't fix it. Then I had to go to and have emergency eye surgery.
Wow.
And then they sealed up the tears, and then they put a gas bubble in my eyeball to hold the tears in place. And so I couldn't do anything for weeks on end. It took 12 weeks
Oh
for
my,
the bubble to be dissolved and for me to be able to reclaim vision again. Um, it completely stopped my life. I couldn't read, I couldn't draw, I couldn't do anything. So that was something that was really scary to me. Like I didn't plan for it. Thank God I work from home. I had just started a new job with the funeral co-op. Thank God they let me be on sort of a short-term disability and just work whenever I could. But this book is about essentially, yeah, being in the operating room twice in a year.
wow.
I don't want that to happen to me again.
No.
And some other just like, yeah, I drew the crap out of this one. Like 9 panel pages. What?
I'll have you show it when we stop sharing the screen. Man, I'm so gosh, I'm just taken aback that you had major surgeries twice. I have a medical procedure surgery coming up, so I feel all of your pain. Like it's a big deal.
It
Uh,
is a big deal. When you're older, you don't like the gallbladder, the doctor's like, oh, you should feel fine in 2 to 3 days. And I was like, really? I'm over 50 and I'm not in very good shape. And
2 to 3 days.
I felt it. I felt it. It took it. I mean, allow yourself longer than what they are going to tell you because it's not as easy to heal when you're not 20 anymore.
Exactly. No, that's crazy. 2 to 3 days. Wow.
No, it
Well,
took
I'm
it it took me weeks. It took me weeks because also when they put you out for major surgeries, the amount of drugs they're pumping into you, um, you know,
yeah,
fentanyl,
yeah.
all kinds of, then you're popping oxys after to get through the pain. I
Right.
mean, to go from not having those harsher drugs to an enormous amount of those harsh drugs, and then I mean, you have to like get that out of your body.
For sure. No, I am so glad that you're okay. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
that
thanks.
you're able to run short run. last year, and it was amazing. Even though it was a new venue, it was kind of, I'm sure, scary for you, but as a vendor too, like what's gonna happen, and how's
Oh
everything?
dear God. I know. Yeah, I'm so glad that you were there to you can kind of report because I was terrified. We'd been at the same venue for 8 years and I just really didn't know. Um, you look at floor plans, for instance, but you really don't know how the space is going to feel with all those tables in there. And there was things I just didn't know about lighting and we the place that we rent, we have to use their catering services for anything like extra tables, chairs, and then they set up two food stands. I didn't realize that they would be setting up kind of at the last minute. That really stressed me out. And just like walking in and just being like, oh my God, okay, these tables all have to come in and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to show you like kind of how stressed out I was, how nervous I was, I pulled up outside the loading dock with my car and I was like, I'm just gonna run in and just get the lay of the land. And then my plan was to go back out and repark my car. I never went back to my car. It was open all day
Oh
in a not up area that is even a parking spot.
no.
So I could have been stripped or towed, and luckily no one touched it. It was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Well, there weren't very many people around. It was an industrial business park, so you did have
Yeah,
that going for you. But yeah,
that's right.
you never know. I mean, at being a former organizer of San Francisco Zine Fest, you worry about, are people going to show up when you change venues? Like you said,
Exactly.
the food vendors, are people going to actually participate and buy things? Is it going to be overpriced for our, vendors? And the flow of traffic, is that going to be the same? It's just so many moving parts,
Yeah,
and and I Ubered over there and didn't know where I was going. Thank God the driver was kind enough to take me to the exact door that you told us to go to instead of the front door
good.
in the
Yeah,
rain, because it was raining too.
I know. It's always raining, at least in the beginning.
Yeah. So no, I was super grateful. Had a good time. Had a wonderful table mate. So, and you guys were really
Great.
accommodating with the sturdier chair and making sure that I was okay. So I definitely am always appreciative and grateful for the level of care and customer service. You guys are really super. Not
Oh,
every show is like that.
thanks.
Not every
Thank
show.
you.
Not every show is like that. They're like, once they get your money, we don't care.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, well, I'm a tabler too, right? Like I did this long before I and my team we have sat at tables for 2 day festivals. And I thought and that's why mine is 1 day because I know 2 festivals take a lot. They take a lot out of you. And I was like, you know what? I think I would rather have one really super busy day than two less busy days. So I know about, yeah, that's another thing. When I showed up, I didn't know I had no idea what the chairs were like. I thought the chairs would be folding chairs, and instead they have these really dainty wood chairs.
I'm
Oh
like,
my
girl,
God.
I'm not sitting in those little $2
No.
wedding chairs.
One of them broke.
Yes.
Luckily it was a friend of mine. Oh my God.
I'm
Yeah.
so scared of
There's a
that.
lot of stuff we just could not, I couldn't predict. And it's kind of a more like commercial venue. I don't want to trash the venue at all, but like the venue is kind of like it rents it to us, but it's not invested in us.
Right.
They're not like, oh, we're so happy to have you here and to bring all these people to the neighborhood. Like they
Yeah.
just kind of they're just like, here, here's the rules, here's the contract. So there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And there's a lot of rules
Mm,
and I couldn't tape anything up, for instance. No
I,
one could tape anything. And I was like, wow, a new venue where I need to like direct people all over the place and I cannot tape up a sign. Um, so we just met with my team and we just used a lot of cardboard that I don't know if you maybe didn't every directional sign was essentially put on a long piece of cardboard that was like leaned against the wall.
They
But
work great. So, I
it
mean, I didn't
worked.
notice the difference. So that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, people kind of, I think they just zone in on like what's the information, not exactly like, oh, how is it presented?
Yeah.
Um, but we made a list of just everything that we can improve upon this year, and there's some things, unfortunately, we can't, you
Yeah.
know.
No, that like I said, I always have a good time in Seattle. It's one of my favorite shows. So
Great, thank you.
let's talk a little bit about Beat the Rust as well. You talked a little bit about senior time. I mean, I'm noticing too your use of, is it all traditional pen and ink or using some digital methods? But it looks like mostly traditional drawing, right?
Yeah, yeah, I use pen and ink, and these two are risograph printed, but Beat the Rust is just black ink on gray paper, and Senior Time is red ink, red and purple ink on pink paper. Um, but I love inking. I will never draw digitally, I don't think, because I love inking. I feel like, and I know that it can be duplicated. A lot of the things that I love can be duplicated digitally. But for me, I'm just kind of very analog in the fact that love to pick out the paper and I love to ink, and I don't love penciling, but I do it. And it's all part of the process of just like of getting there, right? Um, Beat the Rust was another horror fiction, which also kind of looks like me, except no glasses. And her name is supposedly Anne. Um, I was like, how do I take these kind of weird stories from my life and other things that have really stuck with me from TV and movies, mostly about sexual assault, and put them into a fiction story where I
Mm,
can just put them all together, and it sort of hides what was mine and what was other people's.
mm,
I thought it was like a safe way of kind of telling, like sharing kind of these gory details, but with not being it's not a personal story. Um, but it's about this girl who worked at a movie theater when she was younger, where something bad happens to her and she kind of puts it away for a long time, but it comes up again when it turns out that that man who did something to her is now a celebrity. And
ooh,
so she sees him in like magazines and a movie and whatever. And then he's in this show where he's like a serial killer or whatever. So anyway, she's kind of triggered by like, oh dear God, like, because when I worked at a movie theater, it seemed like almost all the men thought they would be directors.
uh,
Like, as if that was like the first step. First step, I'm going to run the popcorn stand. And my next
okay.
step is I'm moving to Hollywood, right?
Oh no.
So I wanted to kind of joke about that in a sense that like here was some guy who worked at a movie theater, but now he's an actor in Hollywood and he's like winning an award and stuff. But then I also wanted to talk about hoarding a little bit, which is something I've always been kind of fascinated with because I watched a lot of episodes of that show, and that show Hoarders, and it just really hit me that every episode is exactly the same. It's a person who's had a trauma that they haven't been able to process, and their family either tries to help them and get shut out and then they leave, or they've never even tried. So people leave them, they something horrible happens to them, and they don't know what to do with those emotions at all. And that's where the shopping comes in and the gathering of things and like protecting themselves and building, these shelters for themselves. But in every single one of those episodes, that stuff, it only brought comfort for that minute that they bought it. And then they just kind of threw it on the pile and everything just kind of turns to garbage around them. It's just so heartbreaking. It's kind of like, I don't recommend the show, but what's horrifying about the show is if you watch season one, it says, just the beginning, like, 2 million 2 million people suffer from this associated mental illness in America. And then by like season 7, it's like 30, it's like 13 million. And the number just every season they have to update how many people are suffering from this disorder, right? And then there's like a loneliness epidemic. And then there's COVID and people like get into their homes and don't come out and lose all their friends. And oh my God. So I just wanted to just kind of show that this woman who is pushing everyone away, she might not want to talk about it, but it's something obviously not resolved, and she's thinking a lot about it, and the shopping is making her feel better, but she ends up, quite buried in it. It's not a solution. But it was also kind of fun to draw in a sense, because I got to draw really pages that were really filled with things, and I wanted to still respect the character. I don't have her like in a not necessarily in a garbage pile at the end, but I do kind of show her sort of like completely lost with all of these things that she's purchased.
Yeah, it's
Beat
a
the
weird.
Rust was something that came up because I my mom gave me an old car that she had in Wisconsin. And when I brought it out here to Washington, every time I had it serviced, they were like, okay, well, this looks fine, but you have to know the entire undercarriage is completely rusted out. They're
Hmm.
like, where did you get this car? And I said, Wisconsin. And they were like, well, they salt the roads in the winter and the salt kicks up and then it rusts the undercarriage. And so then I had this idea that like you could never beat the rust. You can't clean rust necessarily.
Right.
And me owning this car was just like, how long can I drive this car before it just falls apart?
It literally will like create holes, right? It'll fall apart. That's scary.
It eventually did, Avi. I was on a little road trip. Max and I went to like celebrate my birthday up in the mountains, and the exhaust system just like came apart. And so and they couldn't put it back on. They couldn't suture it. I mean, solder it. They couldn't do anything because everything was just so rusty.
Too
So
rusty.
that was the end of that car.
Just the whole idea of hoarding too. I think there is such a, oh gosh, such an in-depth psychological component to even people who are trying to not necessarily be hoarders, but they fill a void by shopping and accumulating things. Uh,
Yeah.
Even like people who buy too much food, like it's one person, and then you go to their house and they have like cabinets full of canned goods and food for like a year, and you're just like, There's a meaning to this," and it's kind of
Yeah.
disturbing. Like, why do you feel like it's almost this sense of lack that they're afraid that they're not gonna have later? So
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is fear. And yeah, they could say, oh, maybe I'm over preparing, but like for what? Yeah.
No, my grandmother was born in 1908 and she always had a pantry full of stuff. But I can kind of
Mhm.
understand because she went through, World War I in Korea and the Depression. So she literally had a pantry full of stuff. Like she
That's
stored
right.
everything.
Yeah.
People of her
But
generation, they did that.
But then, I mean, just think of like growing up in the 80s and 90s, just like things and toys and music and just like our consumer culture. I think it just is just blending beautifully with our different levels of mental illness,
Right.
right?
That's a great
It's
way to put it.
definitely the temporary solution to a lot of things. And
Yeah, I like to purge
we
quite.
all have it a little bit, I'm sure.
for sure. I have so many art supplies that I don't need.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I like to purge, eventually purge stuff just out of that feeling of, oh my God, why am I accumulating stuff that it's not in use, and I know there are other artists that could be using this, so donate
Yeah,
this, donate all this stuff that is just, even though I do teach classes and workshops, it's like there's just too I'm never gonna use this. Why am I keeping it? But some people I don't think ever come to that awareness, right? So it's
right.
hard to because we
Yeah.
all love shopping for art supplies and
Yeah, it's fun to you also link it so you link it with this will help me get over my procrastination. If I just get this new pen or I get this new paper, then I'm good. Then I'm good. Definitely going to be drawing tonight. Um, yeah. And I once had a teaching job where they gave me money for all of the supplies. And then I would show up at these community centers with supplies for 12 people, like in a cart or on my backpack or whatever. But then I also had to store everything. And
yeah.
then when I quit that job, I was like, well, do you want any of this stuff back? And they said, no. I'm like, oh no. Huge bottles of like a really cheap acrylic paint. And yeah, so yeah, us artists, it's kind of a losing war with the art supplies. But yeah, like having art supply swaps or giveaways. I've been seeing a lot of different zine fests doing that or different art groups doing that where um like everybody brings, their excess and try to share it.
Definitely do that and clothes swaps too. So talk a
Yeah.
little bit about this year's fest. What's the big exciting thing that you want to talk about for this year?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to be back at this venue with more knowledge. And I think we're going to be able to make even better use of it. Um, this artist from Colorado, M. Oxem, it's got kind of like this psychedelic kind of 60s underground style. I never thought there would be a dragon on a short run poster, but here we go. Never say never. But I'm excited about like a lot of the young people that are just churning out work. Um, I don't know how they do it, you know. I'm excited to have him, and I have another kind of up and coming artist, Raquel Jack, who has a Fantagraphics book coming out that looks um just like just really like again I'm kind of saying an underground style that kind of appeals to me. Lots of penciling and inking and just kind of gory, kind of grungy, but in a wonderful way. And Roberta Gregory is actually a local artist,
Hmm.
and her big collection of her Bitchy Bitch comic is coming out from Fantagraphics. So I'm probably going to have like a this picture with these wood standees. I think I'm going to have like a bigger one with Midge from Bitchy Bitch that we can have people pose with in
Exciting.
honor of Roberta. And Patrick Kyle from I think he's in Toronto. And I saw his paintings and prints on Instagram. I thought they were just so exciting. And I just found myself going back to look at them. I was like, he needs to be there. And then we're having James Spooner back. He's been with us twice before, but not as a special guest. But he's got another book. And this is kind of like, I think more a little bit more same vein of memoir, but about like creating Afropunk festival and
Mhm.
winning back the rights of it, the movie. And he's got such a great story. He knows so much about punk history, and he's a fun guy. And I think he does. I'm not actually through with the book. Someone gave me an advanced copy, but I think he has some history here in Seattle too. And um,
Yeah, he's been
so
in
we have
San
some,
Francisco a few times, and yeah, he's just an
yeah,
amazing historian and great
yeah.
storyteller. And like you said, there's a very untold story that I'm so glad he gets to tell about Afropunk.
Yeah. And let's see what else. So the special guests for short run, It's not always people that are like on a book tour or are going to come through town anyway, or the most popular person that we can find. We choose our special guests by who's just kind of exciting and new, maybe needs a boost,
Yep,
or
I
maybe
really
no
love,
one
yeah,
knows.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
love
maybe
that.
maybe no one knows them yet, but they will next year. The special guest, because we have over 200 artists, we can't put all of them on the poster. We can't highlight every single one. So the special guest I see as sort of this represents the excitement that you're going to find at the festival. And so the poster kind of leads the theme, the special guests kind of further the theme, and then the exhibitors that we pick, hopefully it all kind of fits together. I see every festival as a different chapter of kind of what's kind of exciting and definitely unique. I want people to know that coming to Short Run, they're going to find unique books that they probably won't, they just won't find. Like, unless you're spending probably too much time scrolling on Instagram, right? Like, that's how I find a lot of people, like, no shame in it, but you don't see the birth of how vast, how many people are self-publishing their comics. You're just not going to see them on the web. You have to go to shows, and a lot of the artists that do our show, a lot of them send me sell pics because they don't even have a website. So
Let's jump